had very little, even though I have 3 children, 2 grandchildren, they're very little involved in my support, okay? For various reasons. My daughter refused to have her, well, my daughter was not that supportive. One of my sons was supportive, but not too much. And they were dealing with their own grief, okay? This is a painting here that I did, one of my first paintings. This is my wife, this is a nurse, this is me. And in this painting, there is this is my wife's gravestone, or grave marker. And she was an artist and a school teacher, and so I had the last painting she did, I had it engraved in color on her granite. And so I go there, and the painting is a pink rose, so I put pink roses on it when I can. And so this I wrote a poem to kind of introduce. So I dealt with my grief and also my positive disintegration through writing poetry and painting the poem and then converting some of the poems to music and into a song. So here is a poem based on this particular painting. When I met Helen, she was just a teen, so was I. Now she's gone, I won't let her die, for she lives in me until I say goodbye. I won't let her sweet lips leave mine. I feel her kiss, tender and divine, until I say goodbye. I won't let her hands leave mine. I feel their touch, soft and kind, until I say goodbye. I won't let her arms leave mine. I feel her embrace, warm and sublime, until I say goodbye. I won't let her eyes leave mine. I see her gaze looking into mine, until I say goodbye. I won't let her voice say goodbye. I hear her say, I love you, until I die. So I went around sharing this poem, and it helped process my grieving process. I also wrote this other poem that kind of explains how I related to my wife and how she related to me. And the poem is called The Rose and the Pinots. The vine dresser prunes my rose, my Pinot grapes are exposed. My rose's red blood flows, cleansed by the tears of my Pinots. My Pinots represent my high sensitivity. I'm a highly sensitive person. And then my wife was kind of a rose, and I'll tell you about what that meant to me. Let's go back here. So the problem was, how do I process this? How do I deal with this? And I read everything back in June 2011 I could about Dabrowski's theory of positive disintegration. So I came up with my own 5-level process to solve this problem. Now, you can keep in mind, when I did this, I didn't have these 5 levels. I was just coming with ideas in my paintings. I was just writing poems. But then after I looked back on and reflected, it came into these 5 different levels. What is really interesting about I did 11 paintings, and at the end of all doing these 11 paintings over 4 years, they all combined into a collage. It was like I was in a tunnel, and I was shining a flashlight on a painting in the tunnel, and I kept going, and it led me out of the tunnel. So this is the process I went through. I felt the first thing I came with the idea is Barry University. I need to re-educate myself. And so I did this by hiring private teachers. I hired a yoga teacher, a guitar teacher, an art teacher, and a dance teacher. And I went through different kinds of dances, and I'll tell you about that before I finally ended up with the final dance teacher. So that's the first thing. I created a re-education process. Then I reframed myself and treated myself as a power system. I wrote these, back when I was working as an engineer, I used to design transformers, so I wrote a McGraw-Hill book called Energy Efficient Transformers. and it's how to buy transformers that are efficient. And this is for utilities. And I wrote another book called Power Quality Primer. It's how to keep your computers from hurting each other. And one of the first things I developed was in 1981, was what I call the Distribution System Efficiency Improvement Guidebook. And I went all over the world teaching people and utilities how to improve their efficiency of their distribution systems. So when I retired in 1999, I thought I would just give up all my engineering. Or a lot of engineers, they try to consult, but my life just was not connected to doing that. It was irrelevant. So in 2007, when my wife started getting sick, and she said, Barry, I can't take the stress you bring to me. I had to drop everything I was doing and change my life. I decided to treat me as a power system. And that's what really my paintings are all about, is treating myself as a power system. Then I had to change my relationships. And I had to grow spiritually. And finally, I had to learn to appreciate life. And I did that through meditation. So, the first thing, I re-educated myself. This is Barry University. And I quoted from Dabrowski about this. This occurs through a process of education of oneself, of an inner psychic transformation. One of the main mechanisms of this process is a continual sense of looking into oneself as if from the outside, followed by a conscious affirmation or negation of conditions and values in both the internal and external environment. So I created two paintings, and they were both bridges. The first one is called my grieving bridge, and it's actually based on the bridge from the movie Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, right? And it's in Sri Lanka, okay? But if you look down here real closely, there's this guy at the bottom of the bridge. And this is people that gave me a bad time through my process. I had one woman, I was showing her the paintings and everything. She says, when are you going to stop this shit? And so what I did is I kicked him off my bridge. And so this is kind of before, and this is after. This is my dancing bridge. I'm playing the guitar and I'm dancing. And this is an actual bridge in Oregon. It's called Cliff Creek, and it has a waterfall. I've actually been there. And then one time I was meditating on a lake, and I was writing in my journal, and a dragon flew up on my journal, and dragons are symbols of self-sufficiency. And so I wrote a real short poem that I'll go through here about, this is my grieving bridge poem. Helen, I'm going through this fast because I only have a half hour, so. Am I going too fast?
No.
Okay. Helen, my rose clings to me. I won't let her go, but she goes. Just before it snows, she leaves me behind to cling to the vine that entwines that grieving bridge of mine. From time to time I get stuck on my bridge, blinded by tears of mine until I find those in kind, and who know the pain in my mind. They say before I fail, take your hammer and nail, drive each trigger into the wood. So you see right here is my hammer and nail. And so it's my way of dealing with triggers. Then I go and say, kick out those who mock, they will block your walk. Then you will find relief from the pain of your grief. 2 rosebuds crown my head. Those are the 2 rosebuds. That's my 2 grandsons. They bloom in my flower bed. I plant the memory of my rose in the sensitivity of my pinots. I find peace in the living water of the vine that makes me into fine wine. Then this other one, I wrote a poem, goes like this. I had a dream last night. I saw my wife who's gone. I reached down to hold her tight. I hear her say, be strong. Your love is glorious. Let it drive you on as you sing and dance to this song. So I came up with this idea of the very power system. And what it is, it's a collage of all my paintings. And I'll get into them later. And this is in the background, this is Mount Hood, this is Bonneville Dam, this is a transmission line, this is the Greevy Bridge we just looked at, this is the Dancing Bridge we just looked at, and then this is a bridge of my wife, a painting of my wife and I. Remember I just showed you? And these are my two grandsons in the backyard, my apple tree. It's kind of based on the metaphor that the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. So I use metaphors a lot in my process. But I superimpose on this Dabrowski's personality development levels. And I call them the loads, which is electrical engineering. It's basically the lights, the heating, the air conditioning that runs this building. So I list all 5 of them here. And then I list his overexcitabilities as potential energies. Because they're really not energy until they're released and used. And then I say the positive disintegration process is really a transmission system. It's our neural pathways is really what happens. And we get rid of the old ones and replace them with the new ones by learning, training, and practicing. That's pretty simple. So so what I realized is through all these paintings I did individually, I combined them together and they explain the theory of positive disintegration metaphorically in pictures. And that's pretty neat, I think. So I wrote a poem, of course. And it's called Flow. Like a hydroelectric power system, I need to ground myself to water flow. When I'm on the go, or at home when I'm in control. That my power may flow in the direction I want it to go, from one creative act to another. Freely in places with people who bring power and peace that flow from me to them and then flow from them to me as we ride the current of our creativity to our ocean of emotion. This is 2 more paintings I did, and this describes, I think, the changed relationships. And I quote it again from Dabrowski, it's activity, it's as autonomous in relation to the first factor, heredity, and the second, environmental. It consists in a selective attitude with regards to the properties of one's character and temperament, as well as to environmental influences. So this is kind of the painting right here before my wife died and my relationship with her. In the vineyard, for thousands of years, they plant roses at the end of the vineyard, and they're designed to protect the pinots. They're very sensitive to the weather, sensitive to mildew, sensitive to bugs. And so this is kind of like, this right here is kind of like the canary in the coal mine. So when the bugs attack the rose bush, the viticulture knows he needs to do something to protect the pinots. So that was what I used, that's what my relationship with my wife, she was my protector, my filter. When she was gone, I had to find a place for her. And you can see here, this is the rose that she painted, and this is me brushing away my tears while I'm meditating on a lake. So every time I would go do activities after she died, I would get very overstimulated because I'm this highly sensitive, but also an extrovert. And so I would go to the lake and I'd meditate on it and bring me down before I go to bed and take a nap and go to sleep. So this poem goes like this: the vineyard rose, my care flows to my rose, to compose me and my rose, even though others oppose how I care for my rose. I'm carrying bugs infect my rose. I wrote the rose with my pinos. When noisy birds pick at my skin, I must protect what's within. Bring calming sounds through the stem. Fly falcons over them. Blast loud sounds from my cannon. When stinging wasps come near, I must not fear. I must remove their nests from them before they pierce my skin. I did this while I was in the dialysis center, so it helped me deal with that. Then I also wrote this poem about, this is called Brush Away My Tears. I look to the Lord to dry my tears, lost my wife of 50 years. I look up to see only clouds, she's not there. I look to the right, I see empty space, she's not there. I look to the left, I see no trace, she's not there. I look down, I see only ground, she's not there. I look to the lake, I see only water, she's not there. I look front to see only tears, she is not there. I take my brush, I touch my eyes, brush away my tears. I look in my heart, I see her there. I hear her say, I was here all along, Mary, be strong. I hear her cry, I love you, your tears I'll dry. So the next painting, the next series is about spiritual growth. I did this one while she was still alive, and this one after she died. Dabrowski said, in this manner, the individual begins to disassociate with his inner psychic milieu, what he feels to be more himself and what is less himself. He divides reality in this one which is and that which one ought to be. He manifests growing empathy, autonomy, and authenticity. His aims and ideals undergo a change. His basic concern is no more his own preservation, but also his growth as a human being, as well as preservation and mental development of other people as unique, irreplaceable individuals. This one right here is me painting Pinots in a vineyard painted on top of a wine barrel lid. And this is a glass of, it's a wine, it's a ceramic glass that I actually painted my face on. And then I put a faucet in here, and it's based on this simple poem. Vine, take what is not mine, make what is mine divine, so that my meditation time ferments me into fine wine. And the other one is, I wrote these two books, and basically I took information I was taught and regurgitated it, okay? I call that the vine to wine process. And I was a monomath. I was an engineer and I was really focused. My wife used to call Barry, you have a lot of tunnel vision. And so I made a decision to become a polymath. And I have there a painting of me holding a painting, holding a diary, holding a keyboard, and holding my iPad. And I'm walking here this path in a vineyard, and one way goes to the tasting room, and the other one goes to the wine room. And so this is based on this poem. My fruit were the grapes of math that became the grapes of wrath because I'm an empath. I choose the vine to wine path who has the grapes of a polymath rather than the vine to dine path whose grapes of a monomath. Then I got into yoga. I do yoga each day. I have a teacher that comes in twice a week. And I found this is very helpful in dancing, because when I can dance, I disco dance with my girlfriend for 2 to 3 hours. I'm out on the dance floor and I can go down like this and go back up like this, and men half my age can't do that. And I attribute that to doing yoga. So interesting enough, he talked about meditation. The practice of meditation brings out inner quietude, calm awareness of one's weakness, calm deliberation, what has been achieved in the struggle of everyday life. This inner calm can be considered a meditative inhibition which strengthens our achievements. So one thing I discovered about myself while doing yoga in the vineyard, that I respond to music, and I want to move to the music. And when they play music doing yoga, that doesn't work too well. Okay? But this one yoga teacher, she liked to do music. So I wrote this poem, and actually Ponzi, the owner of this vineyard, put it on their website. But the poem goes like this. This is called the tree stance. And so the yoga teacher says, take the tree stance. I focus on the vanishing point of the Pinot grapes. My skin is thin like them. I hear the music sound. It knocks me around. I focus on the fountain flow. My mind calms down. So I discovered that water is very effective in moderating my emotional and energetic state. I don't think it's just emotion, it's all those overexcitables. So what I did is I went through a process. I thought I'd buy a boat and go up and down the river. And I thought, that's not a good idea. It's costly and takes up a lot of time. So I instead looked at putting in a swim stall. But I live on a hill and I'd have to put it on my deck and it didn't fit there. So I came up with the idea of buying 4K TVs and put them in all my rooms in my house. And then I get a YouTube, I download from YouTube a video of a river flowing. And I discovered from standing on the river that if you look up the river and you look down the river, it gives you a totally different viewpoint. The water's coming towards you, it feels less, it feels more stressful, and if you look at the water going away from you, you feel the energy going away. So I like to watch the videos where the water's flowing away from you. And I'm moving along real good here. And then this next one here is me at a vineyard near where I live in Sherwood, and it's based on this poem. Vine dresser, and this is basically teaching me to be more balanced. Vine dresser, make me into wine that's balanced and benign, that comes from my belief in balancing my fruit, terroir, and leaf. Plant a hedge next to my feet, keep out the boars and foxes I meet. Thank you for the golden spiral of my rose that shows me how to grow my Pinot. Back in 1941, my company, which is a federal agency, Bonneville Power, hired Woody Guthrie to write a song. Anybody heard Woody Guthrie? None of you guys heard? And he was hired to promote the use of hydroelectric power on the Columbia River. Huh? What's that?
Woody Guthrie promoting hydroelectric power.
Well, he was known to be kind of an advocate of, workers' rights and stuff like that. But he actually hired him for that. And he wrote other songs like This Is Land and Desert Land and all that sort of stuff. And so he wrote Roll on Columbia. You're not all familiar, I'll read it to you, okay? Roll on Columbia, roll on. Roll on Columbia, roll on. Your power is turning our darkness to dawn. So roll on Columbia, roll on. Roll on Columbia, roll on. Your power is turning our darkness into dawn. Green Douglas fir, where the waters cut through, down her wild mountains and canyons she flew. Canadian Northwest, to the oceans so blue. Roll on Columbia, roll on. Other great rivers add power to you. Yakima, Snake, and Klickitat too. Sandy Willamette, Hood River too, so roll on Columbia, roll on. Tom Jefferson's vision would not let him rest. An entire empire he saw in the Pacific Northwest. St. Louis and Clark, and they did the rest. So roll on Columbia, roll on. It's there on your banks we fought many a fight. Sheridan's boys in the blockhouse that night. They saw us death, but never in fright. So roll on Columbia, roll on. At Bonneville now there are ships in the locks. The waters have risen and cleared all the rocks. Shiploads of plenty will steam past the docks. So roll on Columbia, roll on. And up the river in a Grand Coulee Dam, the mightiest thing ever built by man, to run the greatest factories and water the land. So roll on Columbia, roll on. These mighty men labor by day and by night, marching their strength against the river's wild fight. Through rapids and falls, they won the great hard fight. So roll on Columbia, roll on. So I took my dancing bridge, and then I put the Bonneville Dam in my head to kind of illustrate I have this hydroelectric-like overexcitability. And then I wrote the following song. It's called Flow On, Barry, Flow On. Flow on, Barry, flow on. Flow on, Barry, flow on. Your power makes me strong. So flow on, Barry, flow on. Flow on, Barry, flow on. Your power makes me strong. So flow on, Barry, flow on. Your floodgates I let my wife control. When she left, you did overflow. I could not control your raging flow. Flow on, Barry, flow on. Other people drain power from you, parents, peers, and preachers too. Pedagogues, progeny, and partners too. Flow on, Barry, flow on. Dabrowski's vision would not let me rest. A better me he saw growing in my chest. He identified my overexcitabilities and I did the rest. Flow on, Barry, flow on. It's on your banks I fought many a fight. I would lay in bed almost every night. I saw my wife's death, but never in fright. So flow on, Barry, flow on. At Bonneville Power, I saw power system deficiencies, told of utilities how to prove their system efficiencies. Now I create ways to use my potential energies. Flow on, Barry, flow on. Now your floodgates I let God control, that he may create in me who I want to flow. Let his son, caring and calm, I wish to grow. So flow on, Barry, flow on. Many mighty men tried to get me to conform, but with a renewed mind, I will transform my overexcitabilities into creative outlets I perform. Flow on, Barry, flow on. So I electrified myself. And so I quote here about maladjustment, a conflict with and rejection of those standards and attitudes of one's social environment which are incompatible with one growing awareness of a higher scale of values, which is developing as an internal imperative.
So 1 minute.
What's that?
You have 1 minute.
1 minute. So I have a quick poem. Grounded. I am to be like a tree that grounds my sensitivity. Peace I have found, rooted into the ground, entwined by the vine around the body of mine, electrified to create. This is my fate. I draw energy from the river, become a long liver. I walk my soul path as a fruitful polymath. I grow each day when I follow my spiritual way. And then finally, my girlfriend and I go dancing. This is me and this is her. And we electrify the band, and the band electrifies us. And I want to, this is a diagram that I like to simplify things and make them simple. So this is me, this is the way I see the whole concept of positive disintegration. You got the overexcitables, energy, you got positive disintegrating process, disintegration and integration. I call it the transmission system. Learning, training, practicing. My motivation was caregiving, death of spouse, lack of support. My temperament, personality is an ENTJ. I'm an independent, autonomous learner. Dynamisms, heredity, environment, autonomy. And then these are the 5 levels, which are low. I call them loads. And so I will just leave you with this final poem. How much time we got left? We're right on the nose here. So what I want to leave you with is that when my wife died, it left a vacuum and it created this storm that caused my overexcitabilities overflow. And so I had to do 5 things in order to, and I had to regulate my potential energy by meditation. I had to navigate my potential, the energy that I have, through mindfulness and journaling and reflecting. Thirdly, I had to transform my potential energy into electrical energy by doing activities, creative activities. Then fourthly, I had to build a transmission on my whole body and my mind by pruning the old pathways and building new ones through practice. Deliberate practice, each day doing yoga, each day practicing guitar, each day sketching. So you got to practice to build those circuit pathways. And finally, I activate those creative outlets by creating paintings, poems, songs, yoga positions, dance moves, all those things. And I believe and I see these activities are transferable to the 5 qualities he's developing because they all require the same thing. I see these things here as basically developing your talents. They're personality talents rather than singing or dancing. So that's pretty much it. I haven't